Could you step out for a moment, Olivia? There's something important I need to announce. Marcus's voice carried across our beautifully decorated living room, cutting through the cheerful chatter of our anniversary celebration. 50 pairs of eyes turned to stare at me, including those of our 12-year-old twins, Emily and Noah. I stood frozen by the fireplace, champagne glass halfway to my lips, trying to process what my husband of 15 years had just said. The same husband who had insisted on throwing this lavish anniversary party, who had spent weeks planning every detail, down to the gold-trimmed invitations and crystal centerpieces. Marcus? I managed my voice steadier than I felt. What do you mean? He straightened his designer tie, the one I'd given him that morning, and flashed that confident smile I'd once fallen in love with. It'll just take a minute, honey. Wait in the kitchen. The kitchen. As if I were the hired help instead of his wife of 15 years, the mother of his children, the woman who had supported him through law school by working 2 jobs. I caught sight of his secretary, Amanda, standing in the corner. She was wearing a red dress that seemed inappropriately tight for an anniversary party, twisting a strand of perfectly highlighted hair around her finger. The smirk on her face told me everything I needed to know. My hands should have been shaking. My voice should have cracked. But 15 years of marriage had taught me to read the signs, and I'd been preparing for this moment longer than Marcus knew. Actually, I said, setting down my champagne glass with deliberate care, I think I'll stay right here. Marcus's jaw tightened, the same way it did when a legal argument wasn't going his way. Olivia, don't make this difficult. Emily stepped forward, her face pinched with worry. Dad, what's going on? Nothing, sweetheart, Marcus replied smoothly. Your mom just needs to give me a moment with our guests. Our guests. My parents were there, looking confused and concerned. Marcus's entire law firm had shown up, along with half our neighborhood. Even our old college friends had flown in, supposedly to celebrate our milestone anniversary. I looked at Marcus, really looked at him. The silver threading through his dark hair, which I used to find distinguished, now seemed calculated like everything else about him. He'd been at the gym more often lately, coming home late smelling of unfamiliar cologne. I'd noticed the charges for jewelry I never received, dinners at restaurants I'd never visited. If you have something to announce at our anniversary party, I said clearly, I think your wife should be here to hear it. Amanda stepped forward, her red dress catching the light. Marcus, honey, maybe we should wait. The word honey hung in the air like a slap. Noah's face crumpled as understanding dawned. He was always the more sensitive of the twins, picking up on emotional undercurrents that Emily sometimes missed. No, I said, my smile growing wider. Please, Marcus, make your announcement, then I'll make mine. He faltered for a moment, thrown by my composure. This wasn't how he'd scripted this moment. I was supposed to slink away quietly, letting him control the narrative like he always did. But something in my expression must have unsettled him because he ran a hand through his carefully styled hair. Olivia, I'm trying to be considerate here. Considerate? I laughed, the sound ringing true and clear. Is that what you call asking your wife to leave her own anniversary party so you can announce your engagement to your secretary? Please, Marcus, enlighten us all about your consideration. The room went deadly quiet. I could hear ice clinking in glasses, the soft gasp of shocked guests, the muffled sob from Emily, who had finally caught up to what was happening. Amanda's smirk faltered. Clearly, this wasn't going according to their plan. They'd probably imagined a dignified announcement, sympathetic murmurs from the guests, a seamless transition from one life to the next. Marcus's face darkened. If you insist on doing this here. Oh, I insist. I turned to face our guests, my voice carrying to every corner of the room. My husband has something to share with all of you. And after he's done, I have my own announcement to make. One that I think everyone, especially Marcus's law partners, will find very interesting. His eyes narrowed. He knew I handled all our family finances, that I had access to every account, every transaction, every paper trail he thought he covered. But he couldn't know what else I'd discovered, not yet. Mom? Emily's voice wavered. What's going on? I reached for both my children, drawing them close. They were old enough to understand betrayal, but too young to deserve it. It's okay, sweethearts. Sometimes people show us exactly who they are. We just have to be ready when they do. Marcus stepped forward, his confidence visibly shaken. Olivia, think about what you're doing. Oh, I have, I replied softly. I've thought about it for months. Now, would you like to make your announcement or should I make mine first? The crystal chandelier light caught the diamond on Amanda's left hand, the one I tracked to a purchase at Tiffany's 3 weeks ago. The same day Marcus had told me he needed to cut back on the twins' extracurricular activities because money was tight. I smiled, feeling the weight of the USB drive in my pocket. The floor is yours, honey. Marcus stood there, his perfect facade cracking under the weight of 50 expectant stares. For a man who commanded courtrooms with ease, he suddenly looked like a defendant caught in a lie. Since my wife insists on making a scene, he began, shooting me a look that once would have made me shrink away. I might as well be honest. Amanda and I have fallen in love. These things happen. We're getting married as soon as the divorce is finalized. The collective gasp from our guests would have been comical if it weren't for the twins trembling against me. Emily had gone rigid, while Noah pressed his face into my side, trying to hide his tears. These things happen, I repeated, my voice cutting through the murmurs. Like the thing that happened to our joint accounts 3 months ago, or the thing that happened to the twins' college fund last week. Marcus's face paled. Amanda stepped forward, probably to support him, but my glare stopped her cold. I don't know what you're talking about, Marcus said, but his lawyer instincts were kicking in. He knew he was walking into something, but he couldn't see the trap yet. I gently disentangled myself from the twins, kissing each of their foreheads. Mom, Dad. I called to my parents, could you take Emily and Noah into the kitchen for a moment? I think they'd appreciate some of those chocolate cupcakes we made earlier. My mother immediately understood, wrapping her arms around her grandchildren and guiding them away from the impending explosion. My father followed, but not before giving Marcus a look that promised this wasn't over. Once the kids were safely out of earshot, I turned to our guests. I apologize for what's about to happen, but since my husband chose to make this public, I think everyone deserves the whole truth. I pulled the USB drive from my pocket, holding it up like a prosecutor presenting evidence. 3 months ago, I noticed some unusual transfers from our accounts. Large sums moving through shell companies, eventually landing in offshore accounts. At first, I thought we'd been hacked. Marcus's attempt at nonchalance wasn't quite working. Sweat beaded on his forehead as his law partners exchanged glances. Being the devoted wife I was, I hired a forensic accountant. Imagine my surprise when the trail led right back to my husband's office. More specifically, to cases he'd settled over the past year. Amanda's smirk had completely vanished. She took a small step away from Marcus, her survival instincts apparently kicking in. Olivia, Marcus warned, but I wasn't stopping. It seems my husband has been settling cases for far less than his clients deserved, then receiving generous consulting fees from the opposing parties. Very creative accounting, really the kind that would interest the Bar Association. One of Marcus's partners, David, stepped forward. Marcus, is this true? She's lying, Marcus snapped, but his voice lacked conviction. She's just bitter about Amanda. I pulled out my phone, opened an email, and handed it to David. These are transfers from the Anderson case last month, the one where that poor family accepted a settlement that barely covered their medical bills. 2 days later, a shell company linked to the defendant's corporation paid my husband $300,000 for consulting services. David's face darkened as he scrolled through the evidence. The other partners gathered around, their expressions shifting from confusion to anger. There's more, I continued. Last week, Marcus emptied the twins' college fund. He probably thought I wouldn't notice right away since he left a few thousand as cover. That money went straight to a down payment on a penthouse apartment. I'm guessing that's where you've been playing house with Amanda. Amanda's face flushed. I didn't know about any of this, she protested quickly. Marcus told me he was separated, that everything was above board. Oh, save it. I cut her off. Those Tiffany receipts have your signature as a witness. You've been helping him hide evidence for months. Marcus finally snapped. You had no right to investigate me. Those were private business matters. Private? I laughed. Like this anniversary party was private? You wanted an audience, Marcus. Well, now you have one. I turned to his law partners. I've already sent copies of everything to the managing partners and the Bar Association. I would have handled this privately, but my husband insisted on making announcements today. The room erupted in chaos. David was on his phone, probably calling the other partners. Amanda had backed herself into a corner, suddenly looking much younger and less confident. Our neighbors and friends whispered furiously, phones out, undoubtedly spreading the news across our social circle. "You've ruined everything," Marcus hissed, stepping close to me. "I would have taken care of you and the kids, made sure you were comfortable." "Comfortable?" I stepped closer, meeting his gaze. "Like when you told the twins they couldn't go to summer camp because money was tight while you were buying Amanda that tennis bracelet. Or when you said we needed to cut back on Emily's piano lessons the same week you put a deposit on your love nest." His face contorted with rage, but before he could respond, David interrupted. "Marcus, we need to talk. Now, the managing partners are calling an emergency meeting." I smiled sweetly. "You should go, honey. Sounds important." As Marcus was led away by his increasingly angry partners, I walked to the kitchen to check on my children. They were sitting at the counter, picking at chocolate cupcakes while my parents hovered protectively nearby. "Mom?" Emily looked up, her face streaked with tears. "Are we going to be okay?" I wrapped my arms around both my children, breathing in their familiar sense. "We're going to be better than okay. We're going to be honest with each other, and that's worth more than anything your father could have given us." Noah wiped his eyes. "But what about the penthouse he bought? And Amanda?" "Oh, sweetheart," I kissed his forehead. "Your father's about to learn that actions have consequences. And thanks to Grandma and Grandpa, who helped me set up trust accounts for both of you last year, your college funds are safe. The money your father took, that was from a dummy account I set up when I first got suspicious." My mother squeezed my shoulder. "I always said you were smarter than him." Through the kitchen door, we could hear the party breaking up, voices raised in argument, car doors slamming. Someone was crying, probably Amanda, realizing her fairy tale was actually a cautionary tale. I hugged my children closer. This wasn't how I'd planned to spend my 15th anniversary, but maybe it was the gift we all needed. The truth finally laid bare, and the chance to build something stronger from the ashes of my husband's betrayal. My father cleared his throat. "The house is in your name, isn't it?" I nodded. Another thing Marcus never bothered to read carefully when we bought it. He was too busy looking successful to notice who actually owned what. Emily looked up at me with fresh tears. "Did Dad ever really love us?" That question broke my heart more than any of Marcus's betrayals. "Your father loves you," I said carefully. "He just loves himself more. But you have me, and I love you enough for both parents. Sometimes that's more than enough." 1 month after the anniversary party that ended my marriage, I sat in my home office reviewing emails from Marcus's former law firm. The fallout had been swift and devastating for him. The managing partners had placed him on immediate leave pending investigation. Amanda had disappeared to her parents' house in Ohio, taking with her copies of every incriminating document she could find in a desperate attempt to save herself. Marcus's carefully constructed world crumbled faster than the elaborate anniversary cake he'd insisted on ordering. My phone buzzed with a text from David, now the lead partner handling the mess Marcus left behind. Bar Association made their decision. License suspended pending criminal investigation. Thought you should know. I didn't get the satisfaction I'd expected. Instead, I felt a quiet peace. The twins were at school, adapting better than I feared. Emily had thrown herself into piano with renewed passion, and Noah had joined the school newspaper, discovering a talent for writing that surprised us all. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. My mother stood there, holding a stack of papers. "The last of the divorce papers just arrived. Your father's friend at the DA's office says they're building a strong case." I nodded, taking the papers. "How are you holding up? I know this isn't what you imagined for your daughter." She sat down beside me, taking my hand. "I'm proud of you. You protected yourself and your children. That's all any mother wants." "Did you see the article in the local paper?" I asked, pulling up the headline on my laptop. "Prominent attorney faces fraud charges. Ex-wife credited with uncovering scheme." "They're calling you a whistleblower," my mother said, smiling. "Though I prefer protective mama bear." Just then, my phone buzzed again. Marcus's name appeared on the screen, his first contact attempt in weeks. I answered, putting it on speaker. "Olivia." His voice was rough, defeated. "They're saying 5 to 7 years. The plea deal. I need your help." "No, Marcus," I replied calmly. "You need a good lawyer. I hear they're expensive these days. The twins need their father." They needed their father when you were stealing their college fund. They needed their father when you were lying to their faces. Now, they need to see that actions have consequences. He tried a different approach. I'll tell them you manipulated the evidence, that you set me up. Goodbye, Marcus. I cut him off, ending the call. My mother squeezed my hand. Later that afternoon, I picked up the twins from school. Emily was clutching sheet music for a new piece she was learning, and Noah had a draft of his first newspaper article. Mom, Emily said as we drove home, Amanda came by school today. She wanted to talk to us. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. What happened? I told her to leave. Noah spoke up, his voice firm. I said if she wanted to talk, she could do it through our lawyer. Just like you taught us. Pride swelled in my chest. That was exactly right, sweetheart. She looked different, Emily added. Not so shiny anymore. She said she was sorry, that she didn't know about the money stuff. Sometimes people only show remorse when they're caught, I explained, pulling into our driveway. That doesn't make it genuine. Inside, the house felt different now. Gone were Marcus's pretentious art pieces and the formal furniture he'd insisted we needed to impress his clients. Instead, there were family photos, comfortable couches, and the twins' art projects proudly displayed. Can we get pizza tonight? Noah asked, settling at the kitchen counter with his homework. The kind Dad said was too cheap for our image. I laughed, reaching for the takeout menu. Extra cheese and pepperoni coming up. As we sat round the kitchen table later, eating pizza and helping Noah edit his article, my phone buzzed with an email from Marcus's firm. They were offering a generous settlement to avoid public litigation, including full college funds for both twins. Mom? Emily asked, noticing my expression. Is everything okay? I looked at my children, really looked at them. They were stronger than before, more honest, more resilient. We all were. Everything is perfect, sweetheart. Sometimes the best anniversaries aren't about celebrating the past. They're about building a better future. Noah raised his pizza slice. To Mom, the best whistleblower ever. To Mom, Emily echoed, who taught us that standing up for yourself isn't just right, it's necessary. I raised my own slice, feeling tears prick my eyes. To us, because sometimes the best family isn't the biggest, the richest, or the most perfect looking. It's the one that sticks together and tells the truth. As we finished our dinner, laughing and planning our weekend, I realized something important. The anniversary party that was supposed to humiliate me had instead set us free. Marcus had wanted to make an announcement that would destroy our family. Instead, he'd given us the chance to build a stronger one from the ashes of his betrayal. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting better.